no matter how good it is today, it's going to be even better in years to come. And just being in a place that is constantly focused on doing better feels great because I feel like the possibilities are endless. Hello, my name is Monica Milligan, and I'm the Vice President of the school board. I think serving on the school board is extremely important. We get to, I think, really be a part of the ecosystem of supporting the kid and the teacher. For me, the way I think about the school board is we're the least important people in the entire system. Our job is to support the superintendent, who then supports the district office, who then supports the schools, who then support the teachers, who then support the students. For me, it's really important that we have a board that really understands where we kind of are in the hierarchy of things and who is uber focused on ensuring that at every decision we make, we are focusing that on what is right for all students and all teachers. And it's been a tremendous experience so far. I've only been on the board for a couple of months, but everyone I met has that same focus, right? And that same passion and that same desire. And we may have different ideas about how to get there, but I think the diversity of ideas and the diversity of approaches makes for a rich dialogue and rich discussion, and really allows us to make the right decisions, to set the right conditions in place for everybody to thrive in the system. And so for me, that's, why it's really, really important. And I think, I've been able to feel it in even the first couple of months of being here. I've deeply felt the effects of having a great learning experience in schools. And so I've decided at a very early age to go into the field of education. So I've spent the last 20 years teaching, serving at the district level, and supporting schools all across the country. And as my kiddos, who are now 8 and 12, get bigger and bigger and go through Carpenter and Emerson, and my nephews and nieces are going through the system, it felt like the right time to contribute and try to take some of the knowledge and expertise that I've gained over the last 20 years and bring it to our district and hopefully help create a better learning environment for not only my kiddos and my nieces and nephews, but for our entire community. There's a ton of things I love about District 64, and that was behind our decision to move here, I think 7 years ago. For me, what makes District 64 a destination district is probably three things. One is just the community. I think I remember the first time I walked into Carpenter with my first grader, and from the principal to the teachers to the support staff and other parents and other students, it just felt like I was getting a warm embrace. I was joining a community versus just a school. And that's been true throughout. And so I think when you enter, you feel really confident and comfortable knowing that your kiddo is going into a community that's going to care about them as much as you do at home. So that's number one. Number two is the education that my kids receive is pretty spectacular. Not only on the academic side, right? They get great instruction on math and reading and science and social studies, but the access they have to just amazing extracurriculars and specials is pretty phenomenal. My eldest is in cross country. She's done choir. She's been in orchestra. She's been in the play. And I feel like she really gets to explore her whole self. She gets support as part of the school day in really trying out her artistic side, her creative side, her athletic side. And so it feels like her entire self is being attended to and really being cultivated and really being pushed and developed, which is amazing. And lastly, everyone I've met here is continually focused on improving and doing better for our kids. And so I feel like no matter how good it is today, it's going to be even better in years to come. And just being in a place that is constantly focused on doing better feels great because I feel like the possibilities are endless and the heights are kind of, super high and super inspirational for all of us. We moved to District 64 or Park Ridge about 7 years ago. I have two girls, Emma and Charlotte, who are in the system. Emma went to Carpenter as a first grader, and she's now a seventh grader at Emerson. And then Charlotte is a third grader at Carpenter. And then all of our family moved here as well. So within a mile radius of us is my brother-in-law and their family who've gone through Carpenter, Emerson, and are now at Maine South and Emerson. And then we also have, my sister and her family who are also in the Carpenter area. So, and then we have, I think all of my husband's college friends from University of Iowa, all within 2 mile radius. So it feels like it's not only been us who've been able to make a home in Park Ridge, but our entire extended family and friends. So when I was 6 years old, I immigrated from South Korea to Dallas, Texas, and I entered first grade. And for the next 3 years, I sat in the back of the classroom and I did math worksheet after math worksheet after math worksheet. And my parents didn't speak English. I didn't speak English. And so we didn't think anything of it. And it was only when we moved to Ohio and I had a new third grade teacher who realized that as a third grader, I probably spoke about 50 words of English. And she took it upon herself to go to the Korean church and find a translator and came to our house. And you can imagine my parents who had left everything behind in South Korea so that they could give my sister and I a better education, hearing for the first time after 3 years of being in the country that their daughter had learned essentially nothing for 3 years and had just been sitting in the back of the classroom. And so that teacher not only shared that news with my parents, but then came back weekend after weekend and taught not only me, but my entire family English over the course of the next couple of months. And for me, she changed the trajectory of my K-12 education in my life. She opened up, access to the English language and to rigorous content in schools, and really set me up for success. And I share that because for me, I was lucky enough to have a teacher that did that for me. But I don't think access to rigorous education and rigorous learning experiences should be left up to chance and left up to the kindness of a teacher. I think it should be a systematic right and integrated into what every student receives. And so that's why I entered into education, because I want to ensure that the system works for every kiddo and that every kiddo gets exactly what they need when they need it, whether it is an English language learner like me who may need more support on acquiring the language, or a student with disabilities who may need extra supports and accommodations to access the materials. I think folks may not know that I was a middle school math teacher in New Orleans, and that my dream is at some point to go back to elementary school and be an art teacher. So I don't know exactly when, but I love art. I love kindergartners, first graders, second graders, like they get my heart. And I would love at some point to go back to doing that. I think it would be so fulfilling. And, I think teaching is the most rewarding, but also the most difficult job in the world. And I have a real desire to go back to it at some point. The other thing is, I don't think most folks know that English is my third language. Okay. So I spoke Korean at first because I was born there and lived there until I was 6. And then I picked up Spanish, which I don't remember as much anymore, but I really learned Spanish kind of from 6 to 9. And it was only at 9 years old that I learned English. Wow. And then in college, I lived in Zimbabwe for 6 months. And so I picked up the tribal language of Shona. So now in my head, I have English, and then I do like a mix of Korean and Shona, which is interesting and nobody really quite understands. So I thought I was going to be an artist at some point when I was growing up. And so I took art lessons, I think from like 4th grade until I was a senior in college. And my favorite medium was actually like chalk painting. And so I used to do huge sidewalk murals and enter into like sidewalk mural contests, which I didn't know that there was like a whole system. There's a circuit, and did okay. But I loved it. I loved the brilliance of the colors, and what I loved about the being on the sidewalk is just like people's interaction with it, right? Like it wasn't everybody could access it, everybody could interact with it. You could use it to deliver a message. You can integrate it with the environment. You could surprise people with it. And so there was a period of time where I was like, if I could make a living being a sidewalk chalk artist, like that's what I would do.